You're dialed into the right place. Now your host, Ryan Fizzle.
All right, it's Monday morning. We're not very chipper this morning, man. Let me just start off by saying this. This shit sucks. Excuse my language, but you know, if you woke up healthy and your family's healthy, you know, that's what matters most. So let's keep that in perspective. I know Croc and Twin are keeping that in perspective, but that, you know, that's for the people in the chat. But this is bad, man. Croc, how you doing this morning, man?
You know, woke up like, damn, another, you know, really tough loss. And then on top of that, you know, I was sending my money, my wife some Zelle, and I got hit with something. I don't even know what it is. Some kind of tax, something. It ain't taxes. I don't know what it is, but it was like $1,000 came out of my account. So I'm like, damn, on top of 49ers losing, I lost $1,000 and it just the blink of an eye, I don't even know to what. So I'm waiting on the phone call back now. But tough times in the Crocky household.
Yeah, man, I would have won $600 had freaking Kittle had 4 catches. I ain't not going to have 4 catches, bro. Man,
what do you have? 1, 2, 2?
2, man, for like 4 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
Just Twin, how you doing, man?
Man, I don't know how you ever wake up some days like, I wish I wasn't right.
Nah,
That's
just rough, man.
That's how I'm feeling right now. Sometimes, like, you see something, you like, man, I wish I didn't see that. And that's how I'm feeling. Dang, man. I hate so I'm a little salty, man. I'm like,
all right, let's do this. Croc, give me your initial reaction. Just give me your overall summarization, feedback of this game.
Man, just torn. And I think even more so than, you know, the 49ers just losing the game, a big question for me is where the 49ers go from here. So not knowing that, dang, is this your, like, really kind of like one of your best opportunities to win the Super Bowl, and you kind of squandered that opportunity. Where do you go from here? Do you just say, oh, don't worry about it, next year you'll be better? I think that's probably like the toughest pill for me to swallow. And it's not like some of these other teams, let's say Green Bay Packers, right? You know, Green Bay, you know, they took a tough loss to the 49ers, let the 49ers take the lead at the end of that game. But at least they can say to themselves, you know what, man, really young squad, youngest team in the NFL. We expect our quarterback to, you know, be even better throughout the entirety of a year. Like, okay, we got something to look forward to. As a 49er fan, I don't know what you have to look forward to in the sense of this team just being better. So, you know, I think that's probably the toughest part about it for me.
Yeah. Twin, what are your overall thoughts after this game?
Man, I feel sorry for the players. And a lot of the fans too, man. We came out in droves everywhere we went this year. I mean, we seen it all over social media. These fans, man, went out there and they traveled, they supported, and we know how hard it is for these guys to go out there and play. And this probably was one of the healthiest teams we've had in a long, long time, man. And I know we had some injuries that happened in that game, but overall, man, this team was put together at the right moment and the right time to go out there and be successful, man. And to come up short the way that in how we lost, it's hurtful, man. It's kind of sad, you know what I mean, that those guys went out there and weren't able to come home with their W, man. So
yeah,
because this team,
Let's get these super chats, man, real quick. Keenan says the lack of run game in the third quarter hurt us. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, brother Bob. I'm so mad I can't even think right now. F Kyle. Kyle drops the ball again, can't run it back again. Everybody's seems to be down on Kyle. Let's start off positive. Who played well, Croc?
Oh man, I think there are definitely guys that play well. I think, you know, right off the bat for me, you can kind of look at not the entire special teams. There was a blunder that happened late in that game, and obviously there was a block extra point that I think was kind of pivotal in this game. But Chris Conley, you know, just his contributions to the game, special teams making several tackles, had a big third down catch to convert the first down early in this game, keeping the sticks moving. I was impressed with how, a guy was able to kind of show up and is like, all right, you guys need me in this moment. I'm going to get you the best of me, even if it's just trying to help flip field position. Chris Conley, you talk about guys that play well, and there were a lot of guys that did play well. I think Chris Conley is one that really jumps out to me.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings jumps out to me too, man. Juwan Jennings had a hell of a game. He might have been the MVP. I don't know if CMC would have punched in a touchdown, he might have probably won it. But outside of that, man, Juwan Jennings played his ass off. Twin, who played well to you, brother?
I think that first half of that defense, man, like from what we were calling for over the first 2 games with Green Bay and Detroit Lions, how them guys came out there, man. You got to just give your hats off to them. They heard the noise, and they went out there and played hard together as a unit. It wasn't just one individual. You could tell they were working as a team. Like, you saw them guys working in unison with one another, man. And I just want to, hats off to those guys, because that's a hard challenge over there to prepare for Pat Mahomes. And it's hard to keep a man like that down. So just – I can't pick one person, but just how they came out there and set that tone yesterday, man, it was amazing,
Yeah. I mean, the defense in general, I thought did really good. We're going to go over that too. But the D-line really impressed me. Chase Young did fantastic. He's been a problem for the last several games, and he was great last night. D-line did really good. The defense in general did good. I mean, they held the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation. And if you would have told me before the game that the 49ers are going to hold the Chiefs to 19 points in the regulation, I would assume the 49ers win that game, because that's a fantastic job. The 49ers got to score points. Let's talk about quarterback. How do you assess Brock Purdy, Croc? How do you think he did in this game?
I think Brock Purdy, he played well. I think some of my comments on Locked On 49ers is going over some people's heads a little bit. They think that I'm getting on him, or that I think he isn't good or whatever. And it's like, no, it's not none of that. I think in these moments, when you're playing against the best, right? Like, the best quarterback of kind of my generation or kind of my era, you have to figure out a way to kind of go above and beyond. One second, let me answer this phone call. I'll be right back. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Give me your assessment on Brock Purdy, Twin.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear what Croc might have said on Lock On 49ers, but I'm assuming he said something like, when you have a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan on the side over there, you can't have a DeMar DeRozan on the opposing side. And DeMar DeRozan's a perennial Pro Bowler, a player that's been consistent, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there's levels. And that doesn't mean DeMar is not a good player or a great player. It's just that some people got something that the other person don't have. And so I thought Brock did his best. I didn't think Kyle didn't help Brock out a lot either as well. I wish at times Kyle could have put him in a position where if the Reeds went there, he could just run the ball. And when I mean just run the ball, just get positive yardage, to not have us in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. They're like, sometimes just get any positive yardage helps, and that's very important. And so Brock did his thing. He tried to stay in there as long as he could, man. But eventually, I don't think, the support of his head coach was there to kind of get him over the hump and what needed to be done to get this victory. And so, yeah, man.
I thought Brock played pretty good, man. I gave him a B for his performance. He did miss a couple passes that would have probably changed the game. He had Debo open in the end zone. He had Brandon Ayuk open in the end zone. He completes one of those. The 49ers win this game. So that is bad. He took an 8-yard loss when he probably should have threw it away a couple of times. But overall, I didn't think the moment was too big for Brock Purdy. He was off a little bit. He's been off a little bit in the postseason compared to the regular season. But overall, I thought Brock played okay. I thought I gave him a B. I thought he did good enough to put this team in a position to win multiple times. Really, I put the most of this blame is on Kyle Shanahan. And we're going to get to that as well. Let's Johnny says, let's get to the super chat. Johnny says the special teams gave the Chiefs 8 points. CMC fumbling took points off the board. The 49ers had 31 rushes for 110 yards, 3.5 yards a carry. O-line allowed 9 unblocked pressures, too many mistakes. Johnny coming through with the stats. Now, when you look at this, the 49ers had 31 rushes for 110 yards. A lot of that came at the end of the game, and it came in overtime. It didn't come when they needed it to come, which was after the half. When they came out after the half, I believe they had at least 6 straight passing attempts, 2 3-and-outs. The third possession was bad as well. I think there's a lot of things you can point to the reason why the 49ers lost this game. But for me, that's a big one. It's the way the 49ers came out after the half, not running the ball, passing. They were up by 10 at that point. Just rough, man. Rough. Johnny also says.
Never mind. Go on. You do this one.
He said, is Kyle blameless? Absolutely not. However, Greenlaw getting hurt was a death blow. Kelsey wasn't doing anything until he went down. Hold on, Johnny. Again, the 49ers defense held the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation.
Deep, man.
That's got to be enough to win the game. If you hold the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation, your offense needs to overcome 19 points and win this game. Greenlaw, look, shout out to Dre Greenlaw, man. I hope him speedy recovery. I want to talk about him more later on in the game. And sure, did it affect the defense? Yeah. Would they have been better with Greenlaw? Sure. But they still held the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation. 49ers offense has to score points. You got to be able to score more than 19 points if you expect to win a game. And so I'm not going to put this on the defense in any way at all today. GTC says Kyle needs to revise this offense. KC had Miami as a blueprint on Kyle's scheme. They ran routes for our receivers. They also need leadership changes. Yeah, man, Debo, we're going to talk about this too. Debo was locked. Couldn't get up. I believe he had 11 targets, three catches. Dude couldn't get open. So, again, I think Brock played okay, but these receivers were locked. Kansas City Chiefs DBs locked these receivers. Go ahead.
Hey, but I still think give Brandon Ayuk opportunities, though, man. Like, at the end of the day, when he had chances, the dude caught the ball, though. Like, I can't, like, man, this scheme, sometimes you just got your players go out there and be players, man. And Kelsey didn't catch every pass. Like, Kelsey caught the passes that he needed to catch, but he also had the opportunities. Usually when we run things for Debo, it's more of a gadget. It's schemed up. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily plays for real ran, like on routes. I just don't think that, man, we put this team in a situation where that defense did such an amazing job to give that ball to Kyle, to Brock, to CMC numerous of times, where it just never felt like they had a plan for what we saw with this man defense. Like they said after the game, we didn't think they were going to play man as much when this team showed the ability to play man and be successful at it. Yeah. And they saw multiple teams play man against us who actually beat us in the AFC, play man and be successful against us. We had 2 weeks and you that disjointed to the point where you have numerous individuals out there who can make plays, and then we didn't even necessarily like Kittle. I told you Kittle should be the MVP, mainly because I know that they do have outside weapons. So you got to utilize George Kittle. You got to find a way to give him the ball. Just like they found a way to give Kelsey the ball, we got to find a way to give Kittle the ball, man. There's no way you should have 2 Super Bowls appearances and not targets like that. And we get talked about when I tell y'all there's a difference between being a tight end and then the tight end, meaning your offensive coordinator's got to know that this guy can go out here and make plays, and we got to feed him the ball. And it just seemed like the whole thing was it was eerie from the first quarter on. That's all I got to say. It was eerie.
Yeah, man. I agree. Croc's back. Croc, you good, bro?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it was some tax stuff. Yeah, they just hit me $4,000. It's okay.
That shit's rough.
I mean, it sucks, but it's okay. When you're not expecting it, just like the 49ers lost.
Yeah, right after the loss, man. That's rough, man. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. But give me your thoughts on Brock Purdy, man.
All right, yeah, and I know I kind of got cut off there by the phone call. My apologies, everybody watching right now. But man, I think Brock Purdy's good. And I don't think he crumbled under any pressure in the sense of his ability to function. I think for him, and what he is, I think that they force him to play a certain way and have to be a certain guy. And I'm not 100% sure if he's the guy that they try to force him to be. If you go back to 2019, I think the Kansas City Chiefs did something very similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, where they kind of loaded against the run and kind of forced Kyle out of what he ideally wants to do. A lot of people are making a big deal out of this, and they're like, "Oh, he went away from the run. He went away from the run," and it's like tough because it's like CMC had 22 carries. Like that's a lot of carries for somebody going away from the run. But ultimately, what the Kansas City Chiefs did in both of those games was say, "We're going to make your quarterback beat us. He's going to have to make throws. He's going to have to make these quick decisions. He's going to have to beat us vertically down the field." And I thought in both instances, 2019 and now, this Super Bowl as well, the 49ers weren't able to capitalize on that to make the Kansas City Chiefs play more honest defensively.
Yeah. I mean, is Brock Purdy good enough? I'm asking you that because, obviously he played good. I think he played good. I give him a B. But is he good enough to win a Super Bowl? Like, if you're going to, I mean, it just feels like Brock Purdy's good, but obviously Patrick Mahomes is way better. So, like, is he good enough to get this team a Super Bowl victory?
I think you hope that, one day he can be. Matter of fact, let me rephrase that. Yes, he is good enough to get the 49ers Super Bowl victory. Is he good enough to outduel a Patrick Mahomes, somebody that is just really great and we're kind of stuck in his era? That might be something he's not capable of. So you need everything else to kind of go your way, right? Like you need to not have a punt return bounce off a guy's foot. You need CMC to not fumble when you're driving on the first drive, right? There are certain things that you need to kind of go your way so that you're able to overcome what Patrick Mahomes may be able to do later in the game. So is Brock Purdy good enough? Definitely. I think without a doubt. Now, if you ask me if he's good enough to outduel Patrick Mahomes, and when you just need touchdowns to kind of really slay the dragon, I'm not sure if he's that guy yet.
He's still very young, third youngest quarterback to ever start in the Super Bowl. So it's possible. I mean, Brock Purdy improved over last year coming off the UCL injury without a real full training camp. Surprised me and a lot of people, I think. So it's possible Brock Purdy improves even further next season. But, the Super Bowl is over. We lost.
Wait, quick. But even with that, like my boy Croc was just saying, Trent Williams, my guy. You can't have back penalties, man. Like you're all pro. You can't have the false start. You can't have the holding penalty that early stage of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a combination for our best players, our all pro players. Made some of the biggest mistakes. And in a game like that, you can't have back-to-back penalties from him, the turnover by CMC, the false start by like those are the things where you scratch your head like, bro, you guys can't be the ones making these mistakes this early in these crucial points of the game where you could actually have momentum on your side, where you could have kept the running game being productive. But when you put yourself back in these first and long or second and longs, now again, you can't necessarily run the ball like you want to because you shot yourself in the foot. So I just wanted to throw that out there, man, because that was vital early on in that game.
I kind of want to talk about this, right? Because I think with the 49er fan base, there seems to be like this coddling Brock Purdy. You don't need to coddle Brock Purdy. Like Brock Purdy is good. He's a good quarterback. All right. The thing is, when you're in the Super Bowl, it is good on good and a lot of times great on great. So there's going to be these small margins of differences that end up really affecting the outcome. And the 49ers had several opportunities with Brock Purdy. So we want to say he played great, right? He's like, oh, he played very well. Yeah, he did. Did he play well enough? The answer is no. And what is well enough when you're playing against greatness, right? So I think some people are taking this as if, I saw this on Locked On, as if I'm saying something like bad about Brock Purdy. I'm not. If anything, it just talks about how ridiculous, it kind of alludes to how ridiculous Patrick Mahomes is. Like your margin for error is very slim. I thought the 49ers defense gave the 49ers opportunities early on, right? It's like, dude, I'm holding on. I'm trying here, right? And, the defense helped the offense out at times. You know, early in the game, Chris McCaffrey, he fumbled. What transpired after that? Punt. You know, there were other times in the game where Mahomes throws an interception. What transpired after that? You're set up in short field situation. Punt. You got 0 points out of that, right? There were shoot, there were other opportunities that the 49ers were trying the defense, and it's like offensively, we just need these extra plays that's going to get us over the hump in this game against this guy and this team. And when you score 19 points through regulation, that's tough when you know who's on the other side. Then you come out in overtime and you got a little help, right? Third down. I don't even remember where the 49ers were throwing the ball. It was incomplete. They called defensive holding away. Great. Now we get the ball moving. Boom. All right, you drive down. If you want to slay the dragon, you need 6, not 3, right? Yeah. So that's not saying Brock played bad. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying what was needed and what will continue to be needed is to be or try to match the greatness of the guy on the other side. And that is tough. That's tough. So that's not saying Brock played bad or anything like that. I would say Brock did not do what was needed for this team to beat that team.
Yeah. Do you guys see Brock Purdy improving next year, staying the same, regressing? What do you think the path is for Brock Purdy from here?
I mean, I think he definitely can improve. You know, there's still areas, especially like if you're talking about situational football, you know, understanding certain things, you know, you can continue to get better at those things. You know, I do think there's a level of capped off, like this aspect of his game. You know, is he going to be any more of a playmaker than what we saw this year? I would say maybe not, right? Is he going to be even more efficient? I think he can be a better quarterback and still kind of drop a little bit in efficiency. What does that look like, right? And I said that last year in the shoots. He was even more efficient than he was last year. So can he get better? Definitely. But I think it would be more so situationally as opposed to just better in the sense of like numbers or anything like that.
Twin, does this make you feel... And shout out to Yaz for the super chat. Agreed, man. Those are crucial plays. I do want to actually, we'll talk about Trent in a second because Trent had a bad game. And 2 penalties, killed that drive. And then he got blew up a couple times, put on his back. I did not expect to see that from Trent. But yeah, Twin, do you see, did anything change your opinion of Brock after the game as far as like, him being the future of this franchise? You think he's still the future of this franchise, or do you think it matters what he does next year, or how do you see it?
I think it's going to be on management. It's going to be on what are you going to keep around him, to make sure that if he does have some liabilities, you got to make sure there's a strength in the skill position. You know what I mean? To make sure that you cover those things up. Again, like Crockett said, your boy played a good game. But again, when you know that you got this guy over there for the next 5 to 10 years named Patrick Mahomes, it's similar to when in the NBA you knew you had to play against Shaq. People started to draft players to try to make sure you had enough manpower to deal with that guy because he was different. You know what I'm saying? You had to have a quality big and then multiple guys behind that. And so when you're dealing with Patrick Mahomes, you got to be able to be efficient with your opportunities in the red zone to go score touchdowns because the guy is different. Yeah. You have to make sure you put yourself in an advantageous situation where this guy got to score 14 points. So he got to come from like 17 points from behind or something like that. When you have him down, you got to have a quarterback and a coach to say that I need to execute now. Like I cannot give this man life. I cannot let this man look at that clock and say, oh, this is a 1-score game. I played like crap. I haven't even got lathered yet. You see what I'm saying? Like you got to know like this dude is different. And the only thing he needs to see is just like in basketball. I just need to see a couple go in. Once he got that little touchdown off off that fumble, off that, he said, okay, I got one in there. You know what I'm saying? The score's still close. I played my worst game. Oh, we cooking. We good now. And that's the only thing he needed. You don't give a person who's supremely confident more confidence. You know what I mean? And that boy bad. That boy good, man.
I think everybody, right, heading into this game felt like 49ers have the better team, the better roster. At least I did. And I think everyone also said, but, right, it's like, oh, the 49ers have the better team, like they get a better roster. You love their coach. But, and the but always kind of led to Patrick Mahomes, right? And how do you overcome that? I think, that's why you see some teams draft these guys, really high to try to combat the talent of a guy like that. I think 49ers, struck gold, no pun intended, with being able to draft Brock Purdy late in that draft and try to, build around him to be able to try to slay the dragon. It's just tough when you're in that moment. And like Twin said, he sees that ball go in and all of a sudden it's tough, man. Like I just knew my brother, he's sitting on the couch, we watching, and it's like, I've seen this before. Yeah. Like once this guy's back is against the wall, like you really have to blow him out and put him out of his misery. And he was never put out of his misery. It was always within striking range. And I think that's tough, no matter really who's on the other side. Hey, we see Josh Allen. Everybody gets on Josh Allen. They laugh at Josh Allen. It's like, oh, he's supposed to be this great quarterback. He keeps losing in the divisional round. Oh, who the hell is he losing to? He keeps losing to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That just to show you how much pressure he puts on guys. And I mean, he's a top quarterback in this league, like number 2 and number 3. There's times where people might say that Josh Allen is the best quarterback, right? Where he looks like the best. And it doesn't matter because Patrick Mahomes is always able to one-up him when it matters most. Yeah. And that's extremely difficult. So, we'll talk about Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and all those things. But like my guy, Peter Bukowski said, it's kind of like Utah Jazz living in that era of Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan's just really hot. And it's like, no matter what you do, you can be really good. I remember watching Utah knock off my Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, Stockton, Malone. They have Hornacek. They got Brian Russell. They got all these Ostertag. I remember all these guys. Like, they terrorized me. Yeah. And it didn't even matter how good they were because once they got to the finals, 23 is on the other side.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Yeah, the Gold Rush 561 says, I think Brock managed the game very well, but didn't change the game when it mattered. If this is next year, right? Next year, after next year, the 49ers can extend Brock Purdy or give him a new contract. Did he do – what's the question here? Did he do enough this season and in this game to make you say, yeah, we want to roll with this guy for the next 5-10 years? Like, if this was next year, if the exact same thing happens next year, do they extend Brock and roll with Brock? Or do you think it's Brock is good enough for this team to chase a Super Bowl? Or, I mean, you brought up Josh Allen, right? Like, Josh Allen, I feel like Josh Allen doesn't have nearly the team the 49ers have. But if you put a talented quarterback like a Josh Allen, then you have a chance to beat a Patrick Mahomes. You put a quarterback like that on this team. But is Brock in this team enough to go after Patrick Mahomes? So I guess my question for you, Croc, is if this was next year and he does the exact same thing, do the 49ers extend him?
You're saying he is the most efficient quarterback in the league, but then loses to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to extend him because how do you get better? And I'm not saying you can't, but how do you get better over what we saw from Brock Purdy this year in the sense of, statistically, sometimes situationally, his ability in the Packers game and the Lions game to overcome a deficit, right? Like those were things that we wanted to see. So, what does it look like to get better quarterback play with this team than what you got from Brock Purdy? And I think that's kind of hard to fathom unless you maybe even trade for Josh Allen, which I don't think that's going to happen, right? So I do think you say, you know what? It is unfortunate, again, that you live in this Patrick Mahomes era, but you rock with this guy that is playing at as high of a level for his team as anyone. Hell, throughout this year, he played at a higher level than Patrick Mahomes did for his team. So I definitely think that if it looks like what it looked like this year, he's a guy that you really look to extend and make a highly paid quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We got a ton of super chats, man. Let me get to them real quick. Kaliki Carroll says this third quarter is where they lost it. Offense was horrific in the third. Kyle should have ran behind Trent Williams more. Too many shades of Super Bowl 54. Yeah, I mean, Croc did bring up how many times they ran, but I think when he was gone, I was talking about when they ran, right? Most of those runs, a lot of those runs came at the end of the game and on overtime. They didn't run coming out of the half, and I think that was a crucial part of it, not running coming out of the halftime. They 6 straight passes, maybe even more. I gotta look at that third.
It was 8 for 9 coming out of the third quarter. 8 of the 9 opportunities were passing plays, and Christian McCaffrey had 16 rushes at the end of regulations. He only got up to 22 because of overtime, and so a lot of that's looking like you said. It looks like he may have had a lot of attempts, but at the end of the day, is when did you run the ball? And I just want to throw that out there real quick.
How much of him not running, and again, I talked about earlier, I felt like what the Kansas City Chiefs did was say, we are going to load the box. Because you got to remember first half, he had like 9 carries for like 33 yards or something like that. It's like, bro, we're running into a loaded box. Again, they were saying, we are going to make your quarterback beat us. It's not going to be a CMC.
Yeah.
And the way the 49ers were trying to offset that was, hey, man, can we come out of halftime, right? Because they're going at halftime, they're talking about it. Hey, this is what they're doing. This is how we're going to combat that. This is how we're going to offset that. We got to come out, throw on first down, let's pick up some yards, make them have to play more honest, and then we can get the running game going from there. I think that the 49ers struggled, though, that execution aspect of it. So you come out and you throw on first down, and it falls incomplete. Well, now what? It's 2nd and 10. Damn, do we run on 2nd and 10, or do we try to pick up some more yards and make this a manageable third down situation, knowing I'm pretty sure what their defensive coordinator was thinking. Hey, after you throw and it's an incomplete and it's 2nd down, Rex Ryan used to call this a get back on track down. So, now this is kind of a rundown to try to set things up. Okay, they're thinking that same thing. Let's try to offset that. Maybe they're overthinking it. But I think that was more so where they came out with the throws and things like that, trying to figure out different ways to make Kansas City play more honest. The execution aspect of it was just poor.
Hey, I think we saw it for like 3 games in a row, though. We seen this with the Ravens game, coming out, trying to pass the ball. Then when you do run the ball, you run it out of a shotgun formation or a single back formation. So again, if you go run the ball, I wish we would have kept more 22 personnel or 21 out there and stopped trying to run this ball with single back and nobody helping. You know what I mean? Is again, what kind of play calls are you calling when you do decide to run the ball? We gotta quit running this ball where he ain't got no lead blocker out there. Like Kyle's Juszczyk is effective. I'm gonna pay this man $8 million a year, and we know that our running game, far as the offensive line, is suspect. Let's get our boys out there to go out there and play physical. And again, I'm a running back on 2nd down because 1st and 2nd down is here. It's the mentality. You got you know what I'm doing. I know what you're gonna do. But God dog it, I'm gonna die on my morals and say that you're gonna have to take this away from me because I can at least I'm keeping the time going. I'm keeping the clock moving. I only ran 3 minutes and 21 seconds off the clock, and I had 3 possessions because I'm cleaning the ball and I'm giving that other team time to sit there and regroup. You know what else I'm doing? I'm giving my defense to come right back out here again. Then another time on incomplete pass, the defense coming right back out here. Those guys are human beings, so now they're tired. Because we don't want to sit here and say, you know what, at least let's give our defense the time to recuperate a little bit. And so, like, that's what I don't like when we come to, like, when do we run this ball and what kind of running plays are we running? Like, man the hell up and run through their goddamn throats, man. Like, we playing like a bunch of punks. That's what I'm saying.
I agree, like, to this extent, like, you got to run regardless, right? Because that's what you do. That's what your identity is. But then the other thing for me is, okay, you're not running. So what? You go empty backfield? So there's no threat of a run at all. You're just spread offense.
So that's the part that I would have a question when we've seen him do that sometimes. Like there were times in that game he took McCaffrey out of the backfield, kind of like motioned him out to where he was kind of like, far back behind the line of scrimmage, but out wide. Yeah. And now you don't have a threat of the run. I always talk to people about even if you line up and you are the 49ers and you throw the ball 8 straight times, right? But you have a back in the backfield, you at least give the illusion of the threat to run. So you can utilize that to open up, windows and everything on the second level if you're, using play action and whatnot. But once you take guys out the backfield and you're going empty and you're in shotgun, I think you kind of throw that option away. And I think
Right.
from that standpoint, again, I think you could say that. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. How do you feel about Brock Purdy as a fan, for what he's capable of doing? Because if KC came out and they're like, all right, we're going spread, we're going empty, how many people would have an issue with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why wouldn't they have an issue? Like, why would you not have an issue with that? But if you're the 49ers, why do you have an issue with that? It's just saying like, well, our identity is CMC and not our quarterback, who Croc just said should be one of the higher paid quarterbacks a year from now. But if you're telling me that you, even though, okay, yeah, you run the ball, you got CMC, all these things, but, you continue to want to, Kyle is saying, man, I have all the trust and faith in my quarterback to execute these plays, to help us out when they're loading up. Okay, you guys want to load? Okay, we're going to spread you out. Could they be trying to spread them out because hey, we have a personnel advantage here? If I go, I got Juszczyk, I got Kittle out here, right? And I got CMC. Essentially, that's 21 personnel, right? Because no matter where Kyle Juszczyk is lined up, he's still a fullback. So that's still two backs, one tight end. And if I split them out, do I feel like I have the advantage from a personnel standpoint because they have their big package on defense end? So now I have CMC in space against a linebacker, and maybe that kind of says something to the 8 receptions that he had in this game, right? Yeah. But could that be a way that I'm just trying to figure out their logic, and we're just talking here, right?
Yeah.
But could they be saying, you know what? Yeah, ideally we wouldn't want to come out and spread, but we have a personnel advantage here by doing this, and I'm putting the ball in the hands of my quarterback, who I have the utmost trust in.
Yeah.
Could that be it?
It could be. I mean, maybe that's the thing, is they just really believe Brock can take advantage of those opportunities. He had a couple. There was one situation where I believe CMC was being covered by a linebacker, and they had to call timeout. And they didn't take advantage of that opportunity, and they had the good matchup. And I'm not sure why the timeout was called. But, yeah, no, I just feel like you're right. I mean, the identity of this team has always been the run. But if we believe in Brock Purdy, then we got to get away from that, I guess. We got to give him those opportunities and believe that he's going to get it done. So it's tough, man. I don't know. GTC says you can't be friends with players. Ayuk is a leader, not Debo or Kittle, man. You can't have fun and a killer instinct. They're talented but bad leaders. Not Debo or Kittle, man. You can't have fun and killer instinct. I'm not sure what that means. You can't be friends with players. I'm not sure what this means, GTC. I'm sorry, brother. You guys know what he's talking about?
I think he's saying that George Kittle probably his personality is a little more happy-go-lucky, a little jolly, and I don't think he appreciate that as much. And
I put Kittle's lack of production on Kyle Shanahan, not Kittle. I mean, he just wasn't given opportunities. He was a blocker. He was a tackle in this game, for being real.
That's nothing new, though. Again, the same issues that plague us, and we always want to turn our heads away and be blinded because we win against sorry teams.
Yeah.
Want to sit there and like pacify certain things. There's multiple games where we've seen Brandon Ayuk don't see the ball for forever. Multiple series where George Kittle don't see the ball forever. We've talked about this over and over and over again. But when you win, we don't say nothing, or we want to sit there and say, oh, well, we got the W. Look at this. You know what I mean? But when you play against the upper echelon teams, those things are magnified. So that's why I bring it out early in the season, because you're not playing against these guys in the Super Bowl. Because in order to win in the Super Bowl, again, Kittle is a guy that you can sit there and say, man, this dude can do similar things to Kelsey. He can. But there's 2 Super Bowls in a row where you can look at it and say, dang, he only had 6 targets in 2 Super Bowls? Like, come on, my guy. Like, you can't sit here and tell me 6 targets in 2 Super Bowls?
I think that's more on Kyle, though, man. I really do. I mean, Kyle makes his tight end a blocker.
But then sit there and say, like, okay, we want to make this team better, but then you got to spend $60 million for Brock Purdy. Who gonna be his offensive lineman then? You know what I'm saying? Who you gonna put around him? You know what I'm saying? His skill position that could continue to be playing at a decent level that he can execute, that he can sit back there and go on 5 spring. When his offensive lineman you ain't gonna never want to rebuild the offensive line, so you can still go supply like Let the scheme take over instead of sitting there saying, you know what, my scheme at times against a guy like Chris Jones, who I looked on multiple occasions going up against Colt McKivitz, and he ain't got no help. You telling me I ain't seen this man wreck several Super Bowls, and I ain't got the wherewithal to look at him and say, you know what, guys, I might need to kind of a timeout because there's nobody over here, and I know I got emotion, so he's gonna be over here on the edge, and there's nobody to help him. You know,
we got to get through these. We got to get through these super chats, man. We got so many, 650 comments so far. Let's get through these super chats because there's so much to talk about in this game, bro. Ryan, I've enjoyed all the shows you host, co-host. I appreciate you, Kalili, or Kaliki, excuse me. Smack Jones, as a Carolina man myself, Debo has a problem. I'm not sure what that means necessarily, but he didn't get open. That much I know. Jaycon 999 says Kyle did not use McCaffrey on critical third and shorts. 8 of 9 plays were passes in the third quarter. What the hell? Debo and Kittle had no impact. Trent played a bad game. Purdy played well enough. Kyle has the worst luck in Super Bowls. 49ers throwback says Purdy said he failed to help the team score touchdowns. Yeah, Purdy will take accountability, man. Kaliki, my big takeaway, O-line comes back to haunt us. Chris Jones and Purdy not having time against the blitz happens because use of O-line neglect. Missed touchdowns happen because O-line couldn't give 2 more seconds. Honestly, I thought the trenches did pretty good, man. It was more of a, and it's been an issue all year long for Kyle Shannon's offense. It's blown protection assignments, right? Guys going completely unblocked. It's not like they got beat one-on-one. It's that they were completely unblocked. Yeah. So why are guys going completely unblocked in this system? And who's that on? Is that on Brock, Kyle? Who's that on?
So I remember Kyle Shanahan, and actually Steve Young kind of referenced this as well, saying that versus a blitz, the quarterback doesn't have to like change like kind of the protection or there's certain things he doesn't have to do because all the answers to the play are in the play call. So even if they have a blitz on and you're outnumbered, there's an answer to that. It's on the quarterback to get to the right answer. And I would say 98% of the time this year, Brock Purdy got to the right answer. You know, it is tough and it is kind of like maybe people notice it more when you don't get to the right answer when your offensive line is in a vulnerable position. So that, you know, that's not taking the blame off of the O-line. Maybe they can do something to help. But I do, again, and I'm not an offensive line guy. I'm just going off of what Steve Young said when he had the conversation with Kyle and why Steve Young was saying he would love to play in his offense.
Yeah.
The answers versus an empty blitz or whatever are in the play call, and it's on the QB to get to that guy. So usually more times than not, Brock Purdy does. And he had completed a high percentage of his passes this year against that and was like one of the best in the league. It's just at times that he's not. It's a little bit more, you know, glowing.
Yeah, there's 3 touchdowns, like right, the missed one to Ayuk, the missed one to Debo, and then the protection assignment was blown, and we had an unblocked rusher in Brock Purdy's face. Brandon Ayuk was open in the back of the end zone. That was another opportunity for a touchdown. I don't know if you guys watch J.L. Sullivan, but he has been on Kyle Shanahan's ass. So
JT O'Sullivan
has been on Kyle Shanahan tough for these missed protection assignments. So I would like to dive in deeper to that and see, you know, who is this? Is this Brock not identifying it? Is it the line? Is it Kyle's scheme? What is it? But it seems to be the problem that needs to be addressed this offseason to some degree. Blood Moon, bro, Mahomes didn't play like the greatest player in the world. His past glory clouds the reality of how he played, which was shaky. Brock Purdy was collected. Go ahead.
When we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, I done seen this every year. And it's not even about playing great for, you know, 50 minutes of the game and then not playing great at the end, right? Or what we've seen from Mahomes. In 2019, he was not great for a majority of that game. I would even go as far as saying Jimmy Garoppolo for 53 minutes of the game outplayed Patrick Mahomes, right? But once it's time to win, who's going to outplay who in the last 7 minutes? It's close. It's a tie game, whatever it is. These last 7 minutes of the game, who's going to outplay who? And in those moments so far, really in 3 Super Bowls I've seen now, Mahomes has been the guy to come out on top. So we can say, oh, he didn't play great, this and that. Well, he played great when he needed to play great. Yeah. Last year when I watched him against the Philadelphia Eagles, if you look at it on paper, Jalen Hurts had a far better game. He had nearly 400 yards, like 4 touchdowns, like 3 passing, 1 rushing. But when it was time to be great, he was better than Hurts. In this game, for a majority of this game, I mean, he threw an interception. It was a bad pass. There were some other things, right? You got to put him away. Because, yeah, right now, I would even go and say, man, I think Brock is playing better than Mahomes right now. And then when it was time to be like, oh, you guys let me hang around? All right. At the end of the game, he completed like every pass, including running for like another 30 yards and putting up a touchdown. So I think with Mahomes, his greatness isn't going to be measured by what he does for an entire 60 minutes. And he has games where he is that too.
Yeah.
But it's so far when we're talking about his legacy, it's been in that moment, right? When he was down 24-0 against
Buffalo,
the Houston Texans,
yeah.
right? And it's just like, yeah, okay, I wasn't good in the first quarter or, for most of the first half. When he was down 10 to Tennessee Titans, and it's just like, okay, I wasn't good for a majority of this game. Okay, I got you though, Andy Reid. Don't worry about it. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we continue to see this. So if we're talking about his greatness or whatever, he continues to show it when it matters most. Brock had an opportunity, man. Again, when it comes to winning the Super Bowl, sometimes it's about the plays that aren't there to be made. Yeah. And Ryan, you just referenced a throw. Nobody, including me, will fault Brock Purdy for missing the throw. You said Ayuk was opening the back of the end zone. I don't even know if that was his read. He got pressure in his face, got him thrown off of his back leg. He throws his ball to Juwan Jennings. They maybe weren't on the same page, right? Nobody will ever. I am not faulting Brock at all for missing that throw. But if we're talking about as it pertains to winning and losing a game, you would hope that he could figure out, regardless of a free runner, all this, not an ideal situation. Can you figure out a way to still convert this, right?
Yeah.
And more times than not in that situation, somehow Mahomes does. Like that was equivalent to the 3rd and 15 in that Wasp play, and they're down 10, and he just drops back 20 yards, throws the ball to a spot, and it seemed like in a play that couldn't be made, and somehow he figured it out, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about his greatness, it's not going to be predicated on an entire 60 minutes. It's in the moments that makes him great.
Yeah, I put out a video. I don't know if you saw it, Croc, from our last week's show of you talking about the Mahomes factor. Did you see that video I put out of you talking about it?
I don't know if I
saw it. I put it out, man. You warned us all about this game coming out. You talked about the Mahomes factor. I asked you if the 49ers can win this game. You said absolutely. But there's a dude named Patrick Mahomes that comes through when you need him to come through. And that's the thing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. They got a dynasty over there in Kansas City. And all 3 of those Super Bowl wins, they were down by 10, and they came back. And that's ultimately what makes, that's the difference between a good quarterback and one of the best to ever play the game.
I think he was down double digits in each of those games.
Yeah, 10 points in each game, every single Super Bowl victory. Dude, what he does. I actually tweeted it out, man, when we were down by 10. I said, down by 10, a little worried, and sure enough, a lot of people mad at Kyle, man. We're gonna have to take a pause from the super chats. You guys I appreciate it, but let's get on Kyle real quick. Let me read these last 2. Seifert won 2 Super Bowls and was fired after 7 years. We've hit a ceiling with Kyle. He needs to go. Brother Bob says Kyle didn't even scout Mahomes like the idiot he is. Let me get your takes, Twin. What's your take on assess Kyle Shanahan for us, man? Like, what's your assessment of how Kyle Shanahan coached in this Super Bowl, man? Because that's what everyone seems to be mad about.
I thought he dropped his nuts once. He went forward early, and I think in the first half, he went forward, I believe, like 4th and 5 or something like that. Threw the ball, George Kittle, caught the first down. And to me, that has to be the mentality for the whole game. I'm sorry. Like, again, you playing against Patrick Mahomes, man. You can't sit here. I told you, unload the clip, man. You did the little fake pass with Juwan Jennings, cool. You went for it on 4th down and 5, cool. The second half, going towards the halftime, hey, man, listen here. Try to get that ball back. You got 2 timeouts. You can't take them home with you. You know what I'm saying? Look, try to do something. You know what I mean? I just think Kyle sometimes doing it. He get tight, man. He get lemon booty, and I hate to say it, but it is what it is. 1 time, okay, I understand. 2 times, all right, maybe you just had a bad day. But now this is becoming a habit. This is going to be your tagline, bro. Like you ain't gonna run from this. It ain't gonna matter what you do in the offseason. It ain't gonna matter what you do in week 8. It ain't gonna matter. Like none of that stuff now is obsolete. Just to be honest with you. You see what I'm saying? Because now it's like, bro, you done had this team.
You can't win the big one. That's the narrative. You can't win the big one.
And it's gonna be deserving so, man. So at this point, I think Kyle has to come to a point where it's okay to diversify your game plan and your philosophy. It's time to adapt a little bit. I'm not saying that you throw away your whole scheme, but you do got to be able to say, I need to add some different audibles in here to make my guys comfortable. So when there's a time and a point in the season, as far as in the playoffs, I can do something different, man. Like there should be okay where you can go 3 or 4 times and go at Kittle, like, or a couple times at Brandon, you say, hey, go make a play, or I can possibly get a penalty. Like sometimes you may take a shot just off GP alone because we've seen teams get what? A holding or a penalty just because you took the shot down the field. Like Kyle will have to adjust, man, and do some better with his clock management. And I think him and Brock will have to have a conversation so he can trust Brock a little bit more, so he begin to expand his identity when it comes to what we can do out here against these upper echelon teams.
Yeah, it seems like, Croc, a lot of people are blaming this loss on Kyle Shanahan. I asked a question on Twitter. Excuse me, guys. I had 102 temperature last night. I'm a little sick. So I got to watch the Super Bowl loss while I've been sick. So I apologize. I keep coughing. But, yeah, man, everyone seems to want to blame Kyle. I tend to agree with that. But what do you think, Eric or Croc?
You know, this is going to go on the head. Man, matter of fact, I mean, you lose the game, it usually goes on 2 people, the head coach and the quarterback, right? Because when they win, they get all the credit as well. So, you know, with Kyle, I think it is finding different ways to, like Twin said, diversify himself. You know, I think his offense is very specific, and it seems like he kind of struggles to have anything outside of how he sees fit with that, right? Like there's no real change up to it. You know, I think the thing for me, a lot of it is more so mindset. You look at what it has taken for Kansas City to beat the 49ers back-to-back in these Super Bowls, and it is kind of, you know, dropping your nuts. Now, I did love, and thank you for bringing that up, Twin. You know, that play, I believe it was in the 3rd quarter, maybe 4th quarter, maybe early in the 4th quarter, where Kyle said, you know what? I'm not going for the tie right here. I want to go get 7. And he went for it on 4th down. And Tony Romo was calling for it. Like, man, I think this is 4th down territory. Like, you got to go score a touchdown. And Kyle did it. And I was like, thank you, Kyle. Like, that's what I've been wanting, right? Whether you get it or not, just being aggressive in that way. But he had another opportunity early. And again, I don't expect him to just call everything perfect and exactly how I would do it. Hell, if I was as good as him, I'd probably be coaching in the league. Clearly, I'm not, right? We're over here talking on YouTube. But late in the first half, I had an issue with something, and I had tweeted out, and Mina Kimes, you know, she had, you know, quote tweeted me, and she was like, well, Croc, you know, he doesn't do this in these moments. And you said it's malpractice, but the 49ers were up 10, and Kansas City, they're driving, they're, you know, kind of hovering around the 10-yard line. And Kyle on 1st down stuffed the run and elected not to use a timeout when you had all 3 timeouts. Now, at this time, there was roughly 1 minute left before the half. And I felt like this was a great opportunity because we know, unless you block a field goal or something like that, we know that 100% Kansas City, they are getting points on this drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike went out. Looks like you're muted or something, Croc.
All right, yeah, my bad, y'all. They're going to get a field goal out of this drive, or they're going to get a touchdown. But they're going to get points. And then get the ball back right after halftime, right? So they have the opportunity to go up, which they didn't do, but they had the opportunity to go up, you know, a score on you and without you even touching the ball. So I felt like in that moment where you got to use your timeouts, you got to try to get some points before the half. And I understand what could potentially happen. Maybe you don't get the yards you want and you punt the ball and they get the opportunity, all that. But you got to be aggressive, right? We talked about, Twin said, you don't be just aggressive in this moment. Like, be aggressive all game in the sense of putting that and this is not even like super aggressive. This is just what makes sense. You got 3 timeouts, around a minute left. they run the ball, use your timeout. All right.
Yeah.
Now, if they run the ball again, which they're likely going to throw it, and they end up throwing it, right? Now, you got some time. You have a timeout or so left. Hey, man, let's see if we can go get some points before the half.
Yeah.
And him sitting on that and saying, oh, we're not going to use a timeout. Then he used a timeout with like 20 seconds left.
Third down.
I thought it was a little odd. So I think those are things, if we're blaming Kyle for anything, how much confidence did you tell your team that you have in them in that situation?
Yeah.
Well, one thing about Dan Campbell, whether he was right or wrong, in those moments, he told his team, I have the utmost confidence in you to be able to execute. And they didn't. But he had that confidence in both guys, right? Whether it's your offense, hey, let's go get this first down. And if they don't, defense, I'm saying you're going to get a stop. And it didn't happen. But with Kyle and the way he kind of played it safe, to me, it said, well, you don't have much confidence in your offense to be able to go down and score and get some points before they have. But you also don't have confidence in your defense if your offense doesn't get the score. Your defense had played well, for the first half. So I think when we start talking about Kyle, it's more of that than really any play call, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then the Gold Rush 561 says thoughts on Kyle's running empty sets on first downs. Yeah, we talked about that, man. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me why they wouldn't keep the threat of the run in this game. But to me, the biggest blunder for Kyle Shanahan in this game is it's overtime and you select to receive the ball first. This guy always defers. And in overtime, everybody gets an opportunity to score. You want to go second because you want to see what the Chiefs do with their possession. If they don't score, all you need is 3 to win. If they score a touchdown, you got to go score a touchdown. And you can
So real quick, in overtime in the playoffs,
yeah,
and I think some of the 49ers were confused on this as well.
Yes.
If they score a touch, let's say Kansas City gets the ball first, they score a touchdown.
Yeah.
The 49ers still getting the opportunity to score? Because I know in the regular season, if you kick a field goal, the other team gets a chance. But if you get a touchdown in the postseason, like it happened in the I think that's what they changed the rule, I want to say, with the Bills Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Some years back, where Chiefs just marched down and they scored, and it's like, oh man, Josh Allen never got a chance to touch the ball. So in this situation, 49ers 100% would have got a chance.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got a kick.
And then that's the thing is that they interviewed some of the players from the Chiefs. The Chiefs were working on this. They had a plan for 2 weeks in regards to this. They were interviewed and they said for 2 weeks, we planned that we're going to defer if we win the overtime coin toss. And if it comes down to us having to go for 2 for the win, that's what we're going to do. They had a plan for 2 weeks. They interviewed the 49ers. They weren't even aware of the rules. So this is a difference between Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid. Andy Reid is meticulous and thorough and was prepared for this situation. Kyle Shanahan wasn't, and that's the biggest blunder to me in this game from Kyle. There's a few of them. That's the biggest one. Go ahead, Twin.
I want to mention that if you are going to take the ball first, Kyle, one thing you're not going to do, don't settle for a field goal, my G. Listen here, you better go for it and try to go for 7. It's the same theory. 7 and that's it. You don't, even if you know this team going to get this ball back, they're going to go there and try to get 7. They're not trying to kick another field goal, man. Like, bro, what the hell? It's the same situation in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's lathered up. He done came, the momentum, this shift is all on his side. So he been going down the field, and you still want to kick a field goal? Like, dude, just look at the vibe of the game. Sometimes the analytics don't tell you the momentum, the vibes, the energy, the players. Like, it doesn't equate those things when it comes to analytics. He said, I checked with my team, and my analytics team said it would be best if we kick it. I mean, if we receive the ball, because it'll be our third time getting the ball back. And that's why I went with it. He didn't assess it was Patrick Mahomes. He didn't assess none of that. He just went with the analytics. I'm like, bro, there's a human element that's important for a reason, man.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, that was the biggest blunder. Let's get through with some of these there's so much we wanted. I had a lot that I wanted to talk about. I don't know how much time do you guys have. Do you guys have to get out of here at a certain time? Because I want to get through these super chats. And
I'm good. All
right. Let's get some of these super chats. Thank you guys for all the super chats and the support. We appreciate it. Kari Zion says, we held the Chiefs to 19 in regulation, just like we did the Eagles game. Imagine if the offense capitalized, but instead we got 0 points in the third quarter. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the thing. I still want to talk about Steve Wilks. I think Steve Wilkes did a good job. I think his defense did a good job. I want to get your guys' take on that as well. But let's tackle these. David Sante says, do you think Bill Belichick would have had a beast like George Mates and not use him? And Christian would probably have had more yards than he has now and probably a ring. George Mason.
Yeah, Jordan Mason. He wanted to, would you have let Jordan Mason run the ball on that stacked front, because we noticed that they're going to sit here and stack the box. So we want to put in a more of aggressive runner, or just kind of keep the running game consistent throughout that's what I think he's probably trying to say.
Okay. Jason Lutz says, can San Francisco improve enough this offseason to win before free agency blows the team up in 2025? We're getting older. Don't use rookies and have limited cap. Jason, I want to say this one because that's something I want to talk about is next year with these guys, if we can get to it. Fernando, Rams fan, most stacked team on both sides of the ball and still lost. It's the coaching. Sorry, not sorry. Safe from hearing bang, bang. Well, y'all was at home watching, brother. You Rams. Night Tide. Fact of the matter is that our defense held Mahomes to 3 points for 3.5 quarters, and Kyle couldn't get us more than 7-point cushion. Some guru. I mean, that's facts. It's facts. GTC says, how do you ramp back up and do all the work after this loss? As a player, it's hard mentally after this. I find it hard to see them back here next year. You got to take a trip to Cabo and relax. That's what you got to do. Step away from this situation for a while. I feel like
part of it is work too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like anything else. I think especially fans, we get so emotionally attached to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As a player, it is gut wrenching. I'm pretty sure like that hurt, right? You put in all this work and then you fall short like that. But the work doesn't stop. Like you have to get back to work. And then, after they go to Cabo, they'll be hopefully refreshed and you get back to OTAs and you get back to it. Hopefully, what you don't want is some guys to be so kind of drained from this long year that they retire, like a Trent Williams. That's who I'm watching. Like, dang, what does Trent Williams do?
Yeah. Look, I mean, he said he wants to go at least 2 more years before this game, but man, he had a really bad game. That was disappointing from Trent, man. Like two penalties in the same drive. I saw him get tossed on his back a couple of times. That was humbling for Trent.
Real fast and say, we have to be honest again. This is the second time we saw this with Trent Williams in the playoffs, though. And we love the guy, but against the Rams, he was hurt again, bad ankle. Towards the end of the year, his lower extremity started to act up. You have to start prepping for this earlier in the season for as another person to come in and start helping that offensive line, because he's older, man. He's a really great player, but at the same time, age is age. You know what I'm saying? Help them, man. Help him out.
Yeah, man. JC says, Kyle, situational awareness ain't it. And why keep spinning on the D-line when holding calls aren't going to be made? Chiefs mid O-line always seems to block us well. Invest that money in the O-line. O-line needs to be a big investment this offseason. I thought that last season. Daza 0187 says, don't understand why after the interception and our D was dominated, we didn't just run it down their throats. Me either, brother. We also received an OT to give our D a rest. Okay, but you need to know what you have to do to win this game, and you can't do that if you take the ball first. That's more
about the the interception and then just run the ball. A lot of kind of the rule of thumb that a lot of teams like to do, coaches, after a turnover, like look to create a big play, a shot play. So you see that a lot. Now again, if we're not trying to do that, I don't know, but I just know like a lot of times that's kind of like the thing that coaches like to do. You get to take turnover, boom, let's go for it, right? When the Chiefs, now shorter distance, but when the Chiefs got the ball that bounced off a Luter's foot, what'd they do? Very next play, hey, we were taking a shot into the end zone, and they scored a touchdown. So a lot of times teams like to do that after a turnover. Excuse me.
Yeah, that makes sense. The third down play in OT is on Kyle. It's the most crucial play of the game. He needs to call a timeout to get everyone together and make sure they all know what is happening. That play will haunt me. That's facts. I mean, you got timeouts. You might as well use them.
Don't you get 2 timeouts in overtime?
You get 3, and there's no time limit in overtime. Like, right, they put 15 minutes on the clock, but it doesn't matter. That was just the first quarter of overtime. You can keep going. So there's really no reason not to use your timeouts. Didn't make sense. Good point, Adam. All right, and then last super chat that we got right now, as GM, fire Kyle, seek Coach Prime, 0-3 Super Bowl is enough. They're not firing Kyle, man. But
Anyway.
Coach Prime as a coach will be interesting. I don't know. What do you think, Croc? I know you're a Prime guy, I think. Would you like Prime to be the head coach of the 49ers?
Man, I love Prime, and I think that would be really cool. But I think Kyle Shanahan is the guy. He just has to figure out a way to get that monkey off his back and get over that hump. I think if you think Kyle Shanahan is not a good head coach, I think you're kind of fooling yourself, man. This is does he do everything exactly how we ideally would like? No. But he also has been to 3 straight conference championship games. He's been to, multiple Super Bowls and 4 conference championship games over like the last 5 years, right? This is someone that has really orchestrated putting together a terrific roster with John Lynch, and his players really seem to love him and follow him. So to think that, they're looking to anyone else other than Kyle, I think that would kind of be foolish of us as a fan base.
Yeah. And Jed York already said this is a successful season anyway, so he doesn't care.
Well, he's getting paid. I mean,
yeah.
How much money is he making off of this?
Yeah, he don't care. As long as he already said, even if they lost that Lions game, is already a successful season to Jed York. He don't care.
I ain't like that part about Jared York too, man. He had a Jerry Jones moment. I think I told you about this on that reaction show. I said I ain't him coming out there in the media telling this grandiose story about Brock Purdy. I mean, it sounded good, but man, hold your horses. Let's finish the deal. In the word Kobe Bryant mentality, the job is not done yet. You know what I'm saying? That's a great story you tell after you raise that Lombardi, you get on that stage, and you begin to expand upon what Kyle Shanahan told you in the offseason. Not right here where you haven't won nothing yet. You know what I'm saying? You hadn't said nothing the whole season. You've been chilling in the background. Relax, my guy. Take it easy. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you still got a monster over there. It's not a regular guy that you're playing against. You speak it as if you don't know you got Patrick Mahomes over there seething in the mouth, man, ready to go out there and get another Super Bowl, man. And so there's a different type of hunger that they have. They're not satisfied. Even though they've already won, they're still not talking as if they're satisfied. But we, on the other hand, are speaking as if we have won something over here. You see what I'm saying? It's like, how is it this team that's going back there look more focused and more like centered into trying to win compared to a team as if we've done it already? So I just didn't like that. But that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
I heard that the Kansas City Chiefs, they did all their work in Kansas City the week before, everybody headed out to Vegas. So, in Vegas, everything was just kind of like, tidying everything up that they had already went over, as opposed to the 49ers. And again, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that the 49ers during the bye week had 3 days off. Now, what does 3 days off necessarily mean? Does that mean they're not doing anything at all? I don't know. I did see it looked like Juszczyk and Bosa were like sunbathing or something like that. But that's what I saw. So do you think that had anything to do with kind of the readiness or how maybe more prepared one team was than the other? And it went into overtime, right? So we can say all those different things, but both teams equally had an opportunity to win this game. Yeah. And one team just went and executed at the end to do it. But
it's a game of inches, man. It's a game of inches, and this game came down to that, man. It really was a close game. 49ers had every opportunity to win this thing. They just didn't do what was necessary to pull it off.
We didn't make man. I'm going to tell you that's basketball. Hey, when they put you on the free throw line, you got to make them because at the end of the day, they come up to catch you in the fourth quarter, man. We didn't make our bunnies. We should have made our bunnies, man.
Too many mistakes. CMC fumble, Luter on the punt return. It hit his calf, so Ray had to grab it. That was a mistake. Trent Williams, multiple penalties. That cost him. Blown protection assignments. That cost him. Bad decision-making from Kyle Shanahan. That cost them. And then you're going up against Patrick Mahomes. So as much as everyone's mad at Kyle Shanahan for not putting it over the hump, it went into overtime, That's just the funny thing about sports. And Croc, you play at a high level, bro. One thing I noticed about sports, and, I'm as critical of Kyle Shanahan as anyone else, but, like, if Jake Moody hits his extra point, the whole entire narrative about this game is completely different. Because of one thing. If Jake Moody hits that extra point, 49ers win in regulation game. The whole entire narrative is different. Brock Purdy's this, Kyle Shanahan won, right? I noticed that about sports. One little thing, right? In the NBA, you see it all the time. A team will lose by 3 points, and they're trash. Had they made, 2 more shots, they would have beat that team, and the narrative would have been completely different.
How much different would the 2019 game be if Jimmy, would have hit Emmanuel Sanders, right? And we'd be having a different conversation about Kyle Shanahan and his ability or inability to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's just fractions, man, and the narratives have changed so much compared, based on fractions of difference.
Quick question though for you, both of you guys.
Yeah.
Why at times people they'll say you're casual or something when you bring up minor details. They say you tripping. But I think this is why we talk about those minor details. Because again, the higher you go, those details are magnified. And so you can't push those minor details away because those are the same ones that end up biting you at the end of the day. Penalties, again, for a veteran team to have that many penalties when your defense is giving you that ball back the way it is, and then you go in reverse. Brandon Ayuk, false start. Again, these penalties are from your best players. When you was actually running the ball pretty good in the first quarter. Like when I mean that you weren't having big gut busting runs, but you at least was moving the power forward. And again, like Croc say, if you get second and 15, I mean, come on, you will run for 3 yards. So now you gotta pass, and then guess what happens? Another batted ball, which we see. You see what I'm saying? It's like that's what those things are important, man. And so it's the small things that separate you from winning and losing.
Yeah, I forgot. I got to go live with Grant at 11, but I got two more subjects I want to go over with you guys real quick. The first one is assessing Steve Wilks, man. Steve Wilks has received a lot of blame this year, probably unfairly in my estimation, told to come down from the booth. In this game, Steve Wilks, to me, did a really good job. The defensive line stepped up. I was impressed by the D-line. I was impressed by the defense in general. Held the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation. Croc, what's your assessment of Steve Wilks? Will he be back next year?
The fact that they moved him from the booth to the field and kind of used him as a scapegoat in that situation lets me know that he's closer to being on his way out than staying with the team another year. So I think that might be unfortunate for Steve Wilks. I would ideally like to see him be the coach for another year to see if he can, build on what was really, we talk about this defense like it was just trash. They were a top 5 unit in most categories throughout this year. Right. So it's not like they just played poorly. And that was with him trying to grasp what Kyle Shanahan wanted him to do. Because ultimately, Kyle Shanahan is the one that implements what he wants the defense to do. That's been the case since Robert Saleh. Like he handpicked Robert Saleh saying, I want you to run this defense. And then as the league has kind of adapted to what, some of the defenses are doing, Kyle Shanahan has said, all right, now let's go more to quarters. And then he gets in Wilks and he's like, all right, Wilks, I want you to call defense this way. So maybe there's a scenario where Wilks he's able to continue to build on what he was able to do this year. And you see a better version of his defense. And he has a better grasp of what's going on. But again, it feels like since they have moved him down, I'm trying to read between the lines, maybe they're going to want him out here. I didn't think he was bad this year. And I think that the defense played well enough for the 49ers to win this game.
Agreed. What about you, Twin? What do you think of Steve?
Hey, every game we lost this year, we didn't score over 24 points. That's all I got to say. So at the end of the day, when we didn't score the points that needed to be, them the games that we lost. I thought Steve Wilks, with everything put against him as far as what he didn't do in the biggest game that he needed to show up in, I think he did. For him to come in, Crockett just said it. My man's came in here. He's a veteran coach. He's 50-something years old. He's been running his scheme for a while now to come in and adapt. I do believe Hufanga being out really did kind of hurt this team as far as just the weapons. Even though Brown played good, it's just now I will say that's a bright spot. Jair Brown and Hufanga, if he can come back healthy like he was, that's a nice looking duo as far as in safety. You know what I mean? So I hope a speedy recovery, that they feel well coming back. But I think Steve Wilks did a good job, especially with how the roster was kind of put together. We didn't have that depth that like we once did because of the money, how it was allocated to some of the skilled players. But giving some more depth in our defensive linemen and also in our linebacker, because we was hurt after we lost Greenlaw. That was very important. Burks against Travis Kelce was, it was a mismatch, you know what I'm saying? As they like to say in basketball, barbecue chicken alert. You know what I mean? They saw that man out there, came out of halftime, was like, hey, Greenlaw is hurt. Let's pick on him. And that's what they do. And you can't, that's personnel. Now, I got to first ballot Hall of Fame, probably the greatest receiving tight end / receiver in the history of the playoffs against a guy who was a third string linebacker. There's gonna be some issues. So I mean, I think he should stay around, man. I thought he did a good job with what he had.
Yeah, I would like to see Wilkes come back, man, and give him another opportunity, another shot, another year in this defense, and see what he can do to improve on it. All right, I got
real quick. There are a lot of people in the chat right now saying that they believe Wilkes will be scapegoated into making the faithful believe that he's more the issue. And again, I kind of talked about that, alluded to that with the 3-game losing streak where.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, like the defense who started out hot this year, right? 5 games, they were the number 1 scoring defense in the league. They were top 5 in a lot of categories, but then they have this stretch where you lose 3 straight games and people, oh man, like firewood, like people literally want to fire him. And I'm like, why are we not talking at all about the offense only scoring 17 points in each of those games? Right. So when we talk about him being scapegoat, this is a game right here where you're playing against, again, the best quarterback I done seen. And you hold them to 19 points in regulation, like that's you. Like, man, we're busting at the seams trying to hold this guy down. Like this is hard. And early on, you gave the offense several opportunities to make it to where that 19 points wouldn't hurt you, right? But look at the Eagles game. Perfect example. Eagles come out, they march down the field. You hold them to 3. They get the ball back because 49ers go 3 and out again. The Eagles march down the field. You hold them to 3 again. And then you just go on a tear offensively and you smash them. 49ers gave up 19 points in that game. Nobody bats an eye, right? Because under the circumstances, it's like, oh, cool, that's great. And then the offense, you did your thing. And I think in these type of situations where it's like, bro, I'm holding on as much as I can against Mahomes and his team. Like we're trying, we're giving you every man, like, and it really took kind of a ball off a punt off of somebody's foot to lead to one of the scores, right? So when we talk about the job that he did defensively, I thought he did a good enough job coaching to where you could have won this game. But if he is used as a scapegoat, I don't think that would surprise me or any other faithful.
Yeah,
it's messed up too because you're right. Like even if you told Kyle Shanahan before this game that the 49ers defense is going to hold the Chiefs to 19 during regulation, if you told Kyle Shanahan that before this game, he would be thrilled and he would expect a Super Bowl victory, and it didn't work out because this offense wasn't up to par. So, yeah, I think Steve Wilkes deserves another shot, another year under this defense, and I think he can improve even further next year. Speaking of next year, that's my final subject for you guys. I want to talk about where do we go from here? What does next year look like? I know it's early and it's hard to even think about this, but what do you guys think? Let's start with Twin. What does next year look like? Where do they go from here? What do they got to do? Are we going to be better, worse, the same? How do you see it?
We got to have a talk about our drafts. We got to have a real talk, man. 3rd-round draft picks don't play on this team. If they do play, they got a kicker. But other than that, we don't see them. Jair Brown did play, but there's a lot of guys. The tight ends, too. The one tight end, we don't see him play. Danny Green, didn't necessarily see him play. We know that T.D. Price ain't playing. He ain't played another 3rd-round draft pick. I mean, there's multiple guys where these early rounds, they're not sticking to this team. And that's what we need. We need quality depth. And we got to make a decision in saying that we got to take these picks and be more considerate in how we use them because we need the guys to play. They got to play. You need that youth, you need that speed and the athleticism, man, to kind of mix in with the old guys. And so we really have to be careful with these guys that we want to pick. Got to get our guys back healthy. And we need to make a decision on what can we do differently to get us over the hump. Are we really going to try to find a speedster to kind of take the top off the defense? Are we going to use a Danny Gray, or are we going to really try to get a speedster in here? Are we bringing Brandon Ayuk back? Does he even want to come back? I know he's from the Bay, but he's probably looking like, man, listen here, I route everybody up, and here's again the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody we need to really take care of. So I think this offseason, man, what we gonna do with BA? That should be one on top of the list as far as that. And then secondarily, guys start looking at this offensive line. Offensive line, what we gonna do with Brandon Ayuk? And then other than that, man, I don't know, man. We need some, man.
Yeah. It's hard to be optimistic, man, because it feels like this was our best opportunity. Croc, what do you think? How do they look next year? What are the moves they make? How's your optimism for next year? How you feel about next year?
It's tough, man, because I don't know how you get better, right? Like this was a team that I felt like was really good. You know, for a lot of the season, I'm like, man, is this the best team I've seen since '94? Right? Like just how well, you know, for the most part, they played on both sides of the ball and how effortlessly they could put up 30 plus points on any team. And you go into the postseason and you feel like this is your, like, man, this is kind of our best shot to be able to get that monkey off our back and win. And you get to take on the Kansas City Chiefs team, this was technically a down year for them. That's how people viewed KC. They were the underdog in literally like every playoff game they played this year. Yeah. And somehow they still figured out a way to win and beat the 49ers. So I don't know where to go from here. And I think Peacock and I on Locked On 49ers will probably be doing a lot of therapy podcasts over the next couple of weeks. And I think some of that therapy I need that. You know what I'm saying? Because in my head, it's like, this was as good of an opportunity as you've had. Yeah. I don't know where you look and see, you know what? We 100% get better here and we don't get worse somewhere else. So,
and the Chiefs will be better. The Chiefs are going to be better.
You'd assume they get better, and you'd assume a lot of these other teams get better. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this. I feel like the 49ers will be back in, you know, they're going to be one of the better teams again. Yeah. But it's just, will you have a better opportunity than you did this year? That's the question. And I don't know how you have a better opportunity. That's the tough part, but the 49ers will be back, man. I feel like I'm very confident that 49ers will be right back in the divisional round, right back in the swing of things as it comes to the conference championship game. But will they have a team that's better than what they put on the field this year that can overcome whatever is coming their way? That's going to be a big question.
Man, all right. We got 7 super chats, and I am going to be live with Grant at 11, so I do want to get through these. Also, don't understand why Ray didn't just dive on the punt. Daza 0187. Sometimes it's hot. It feels like I have to go back and look at it. Croc, I know you know, like when the ball's at your feet, though, it's kind of hard to dive straight down. I don't know if it was at his feet or if he had space to dive on it, but you know what I'm saying? Like if the ball's at your feet, it's kind of hard to dive. You know what I'm saying?
I think he could have dove on the ball. Okay. It looked like, or could have just dropped on the ball and would have been fine. Mm-hmm. A lot of times with return men, they're kind of used to kind of the ball kind of bouncing way, and they're so used to just scooping it and you know, picking up 3 more yards or 4 more yards. Unfortunately, the ball isn't a perfectly round circle, so it takes these odd bounces at times, and I think it just took an unfortunate bounce for him that made it a little bit more difficult to just grasp it. So I do think he could have just dropped on it, but that's probably something he's done a million times, reach down and be able to grab the ball. And this time, he just, in the biggest moments, it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, that was rough, man. That was rough. Adam K, in regulation with 2 minutes left on 3rd and 5, Kyle again goes empty backfield and does not call the best play then kicks a field goal. That's a 4-down territory. You can't give the ball back to Mahomes. That's coaching. Yeah. Thanks, Adam, for the super chat. Edgardo Rosario, Kyle equals Marty Schottenheimer, Marv Levy. That's harsh. But not too inaccurate.
For those of you who don't remember Mark Levy, 4 straight Super Bowl appearances and lost to every one of them. So
yeah. James Welsh 499 says last night felt like the end of an era. Seeing GK and KJ faces. George likely not going to get a ring here. Will Ayuk be here? San Francisco QB search isn't over. I mean, Ayuk's going to be back. I think we're going to lose Jawan. I think he outplayed him this game. He probably outpriced himself from coming back. I would assume they bring BA back. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. BA is not an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason, right? Like he is able to play out his 5th-year option. So I expect to continue to see Brandon Ayuk out there. He's just going to make, you know, more money.
Yeah, he'll be back. Daza 0187 says, Croc, do coaches teach you to dive at players when tackling? In rugby, it's very common. The last big Mahomes run, he just ran past Warner. Do coaches teach you to dive at players when tackling?
No, but the higher up level you get, they don't really teach tackling.
Yeah.
Like in Pop Warner, you do the tackling drills, step, squeeze, chest up, you do all those drills. You may do them, heading into high school. But as you get older, you do more like angle drills, but they're not telling you, all right, step this way, cross face, step up. You're not slowing it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, NFL level, I have seen like the Seahawks work on certain things that might be different. So he's talking about like a rugby style. I've seen maybe teams try to implement something like that, and they may teach a little bit, but for the most part, you're not just doing tackling drills like you do at the lower levels.
Yeah, that one guy says O-line is the key. We are so dangerous with teams knowing we were running left. Imagine if both sides were dominant. Yeah, that's been the case. Last year, that was the case. I wanted them to draft DeJuan Jones instead of our kicker or either one of these tight ends. That was my pick. That's who I wanted them to get. They went elsewhere. But, yeah, that's going to be huge this season. Hopefully they don't neglect the O-line this year. They got to make a move there. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten. The thing that hurts is last 3 Super Bowls, I felt like we had the best team. Yeah, that does hurt, bro. Kyle right now feels like Philly Andy Reid. We'll see, man. I think this game boils down to this. Brock Purdy was good. Patrick Mahomes is best ever, maybe. Kyle Shanahan is good. Andy Reid is better. I think that's ultimately what this whole thing boils down to. Croc, what do you got going on your channel, sir?
I'll be live probably tomorrow. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm hurt right now, so eventually at some point I'll go on there. But of course, Locked On 49ers, we come at you 5 days a week. We're on Spotify, Apple, we're on YouTube. So if you don't catch me on my channel, you can definitely catch me there.
Yeah. What about you, Twin?
Man, same thing, man. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna be soaking for a little while, man. I talked to my brother this morning, and he kind of just oh, I hate that dude. But anyway, yeah, man, just go chop it with my bro, man, and just talk about the season and yeah, make sure y'all hit me up though, man. Follow your boy Twin Empire _ on YouTube, man.
Yeah.
Also on Twitter.
Well, I'm going to be on with Grant at 11 a.m. on his channel or my channel too. I think I'm going to do a stream. I'll be on with Jesse tomorrow at 9. I'll be on with the coach on Wednesday. After that, I don't know if I have plans. I need a break too. I'm going to Hawaii in June. I can't wait. Can't come soon enough. I wish I was going right now because I need a break from this stuff. I'm wore out. What's on your mind, Croc?
Yeah, okay. So I saw a comment just now, and someone talked about how the difference right here. Z9er, he says Brock Purdy O-line average, Patrick Mahomes O-line good. I thought Patrick Mahomes was under a lot of duress throughout this game. He took multiple sacks. He scrambled. They forced an intentional grounding. It just kind of came down to like at times where it's like I kind of need to make a play or the throws I need to make. He was able to make them. So to say that one O-line was better than the other, I don't think they really got things going really on the ground either. I think that was tough. So I didn't watch that game and think at all that Kansas City's offensive line just outplayed 49ers offensive line. That wasn't a thought that went through my mind.
Yeah, and Adam K comes in with a super chat, wants to know, Croc, what are your thoughts? Kyle should have called timeout right before Mahomes threw that last touchdown in overtime to make sure defense is set up accurately.
I would say Kyle probably didn't know that they were going to throw for a touchdown. So he did do that earlier. He called a timeout when he didn't like something. Maybe they got the look that they were maybe expecting. They felt like they were in a good position to defend it. And, I'd have to go back and watch exactly how it played out. I mean, I understand, where they went and where they threw the ball and how it was open, but it kind of happened fast. And then I kind of turned the TV off. So,
yeah, man. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you today. Good show. Unfortunately, not a lot of positive, happy things to talk about, but y'all did your thing either way. I got to go get some honey on this throat before I jump on with Grant. I appreciate. Should I pause on that one? I appreciate you guys. Y'all the best, man. We'll see y'all soon. Thanks for everyone that tuned in. Make sure you guys are liked and subscribed to Croc as well as Twin, that you tune into all the locked in 49ers stuff that Croc does over there. Thank you guys so much. We are out of here.